Mm, Hi. Well, I'm here. I couldn't go to the community center because I'm um, with advanced endometriosis to my abdominal cavity, plus also other medical issues, um, ovarian cancer included. So, this treatment for me is sleep more. That's how I get stronger in my mind, in my heart, in my spirit. Fully recuperate, I probably have to sleep a whole week. Just sleep and eat um, and then plan some schedule for activities. But anyway, what I am trying to say is that on the phone, there was a young woman getting paid to do act, I guess, because people consider themselves actors nowadays wherever they are. And so they hate me because of whatever they got to do on the side to attain that payroll job on document, is the issue in my life where I have such great transparency that was foreordained as we'd been corralled for the past 250 years. Anyway, in whatever way the world stresses these other people, they make reference to themselves, to my life. So some barriers come up. And so this young woman, she was refusing to write down Violence Against Women Act under the category, was divorce filed? Was there ever a legal wedding? My answers to both are no, because a legal wedding must be based on a real birth certificate. I have not had a real birth certificate. I have an illegal birth certificate. That makes the wedding illegal. So the answers are no. She has been caught up in the drama and was insisting on the previous drama wherein they were pushing a false story that I had denied a divorce request. The reality is that in silence, I have been considering the divorce myself and asking for what ways I could get divorced without negative repercussions ever since we were on our way to get married. Okay, so the way that these forms for 250 years, mind you, we've been corralled in paper format to acquire peace treaties, especially to do with our private life, with our intimate affairs. So, in the wedding realm, is where I have been cheated and where people continue to try to cheat me out of a housing, out of a family, out of a place. Why? Because I don't know what loveless manners they have for copulating. I'm not the same as them. I do not follow anybody's brain. There's no way for me to learn what anybody is ever thinking unless they use words to tell me. What words are always subject to being lies. So I never could really confirm what anybody is saying to me is true or false. However, I am born with a total deficit in shielding my brain from them behaving as if my brain were a typewriter. Sometimes the pain in that region of the brain is extreme. I'm reminded of that at this moment. So, thank you for attempting to make a friendly contact with me to resolve my housing issues, also my current identification issues. I'm not sure what else to do because that's where we were stuck. She simply refused. I was even visualizing the form. I insisted right on the form that no, that it's not a legal wedding, that it's a corrupt legal wedding, and that is a yes to a divorce, because what actually is a divorce is the separating. physical separation of the two people. That happened immediately. He went to the prison. That is far more than a divorce. Him getting sent to prison. So the court systems, see, in trying to draft an agenda for who? What is the current sound in the silence? What are the current sounds that permeate the air around me? Okay, so they were trying to say, oh, you are filed wedded to this male because that would make. They were completely disregarding my identity, my existence in giving me a real ID, a legal entity, real legal entity. I'm a real human being. So they have been denying me that through trying to say that the birth certificate is a valid birth certificate. So in my immigration issue, the forms must be adjusted to somehow add the fact that she's been a victim of a child. I was a child victim of illegal activity regarding my documents. I did not agree with that illegal activity, because to what extent I comprehend my future is, hey, future self, stay out of trouble. Hey, future self, plan for yourself a future that you want for yourself. So all along, this is my goal, the same American dream that every human heart is born with. Where is my place to cuddle and snuggle with whoever I want and go fetch food and talk about what we're going to do? I don't know what else humans live for except to love, to feed, be fed. And how does that happen? Usually indoors. Usually people just stick together, naturally. Naturally. We've been divorced. Legally, we weren't married. Corrupt people around us, the uncles, the Ruizes, who could continue scheduling my son's school hours or service hours or my own, time away, or trying to influence just this, you know, this life that we're living. This is the result. So where the forms are corrupt, where people are jealous or insecure about their own future, or they think they're acting whatever job, I'm not acting. um I'm simply breathing still, despite having attempted suicide as a solution to this problem, where I I'm so alone. And if I try to make a contact with another human being about attaining something for myself, there's a compromise. There's always some compromise that happens. So for everything that I have to this moment, I compromised all other most basic necessities that are what I'm seeking, my own property to control with weapons. Because these weapons, what is necessary, unfortunately, that was somehow beamed onto me when I was an 8-year old and my mother was pregnant with my sister, and I returned from playing on my bicycle around to find her with my stepfather on my bed laying down. And then I wanted to kill him, so I went and put poison in their coffee beverage. And before he was starting to drink the coffee, or before I actually handed him the coffee cup all the way, a fear struck me and I tossed the cup. And so he didn't taste the poison. I don't know if the poison had taste or not. Either way, my instinct was such when I had an image, because I never view any intimacy, like if it's not right there in front of me, I don't view it in anybody's brain. And so if I didn't have a television either, I'm not viewing anything to do with intimacy at all. I'm 8 years old. And somehow viewing them on my bed was that repulsive. I had the instinct to kill him. So, and I have been living with that level of tolerance all my life. While he gets the right to deprive me of who visits me, who doesn't visit me, because the world thinks to honor the fact that he was brave to falsify the record, the birth record, where it's very obvious that I'm not his daughter, because if I were, I would be able to think alongside others, same as my sibling does, who's his real daughter with my mother. The defective genetics are from my father line of genetics, who passed away many, many years ago. So my son became very defensive of his dad, as I also become defensive of his dad when the topic comes up of, well, what male would care more to try to help economically his son's mother. Okay, so he is also misguided by whatever other men tell him, because he's not that big. He's not that big or scary. He's just an average guy. And anyway, so I was not um I was not trying to conscientiously harm Mark. Mark, if you're doing this, I was not conscientiously trying to harm you specifically. I have such opposition, within me, to the extent that yeah, I should have wanted to harm someone, and there should have been someone to blame, or someone to file a police report against, or someone to legally prosecute. So the only acceptable way would have been that the authorities should have legally prosecuted the felons, the Ruiz brothers, who falsified my birth record, claiming to be my father, claiming to be my relatives. So if that had happened, my son would not have been subject to any immigration proceedings, to any immigration folk, and trying to involve themselves in our lives, or any extra government aid or anything, because I would have been where I have the right to become employed to whatever extent. All is not sin nor crime in some states there, rather than trying to be coerced here and forced here into a jail situation, because I do not have the right here to become a celebrity, and hide all that, like toss that all under the mat, or whatever, how they say, don't use explicit words about my lifestyle. That's why I am not really someone that could. I think that to become an USA citizen, to what that means, not to me now, is that I would have to have an addition to my brain, an implant for the neurons that are missing. I have some very specific brain parts missing. The psychology textbook mentions them. That is the only way that I could become an equal, or achieve the dream that all men are created equal. To simply achieve the dream of having my own residence that I can protect with my own weapons. I had that right taken away when I entered this territory at 12 years old. Um, so, um, I don't know what is going to happen, because I mostly like just planned this way, where my son says, uh, my son with me stay here. I stay here near my mom. I talk to someone, either goes good or bad. Um, I gotta go somewhere tomorrow at 5 a.m. I don't know where, because my son's going to work at 6:30. I refuse to share the property address with my mom's husband. So like, he stays here supposedly until noon. Although sometimes I am senseless. I don't really know who's where when, or what sounds are they themselves, or pre-recorded sounds that are, you know, in accordance with their customs of playing tricks and games around us, because what are we to them anyway is insignificant, um, to whatever, you know, ways they have created for sustaining themselves. So to acquire sustainability independent of them is something that Mr. Greenfield teaches everybody. You know, um, you don't gotta really have a toilet. You don't really gotta have um, all the, like, things that damage the environment, really, that are considered commodities or luxuries in some ways. What we want to achieve is, well, personally, I don't speak for himself, I speak for myself. What I want to achieve personally, this I learned the hard way since I was 14 years old, because I really faced death with the overdose. Those were the last times I overdosed, when I was 16 years old. And so I really don't mess around in life. I don't take things for granted, nor lightly. I tend to be a bit over serious at times, but it's because I cherish life so much. Life is everything. Being alive is the only way that I can, uh, experience life. Like, there isn't anything else like being alive. Mm, so while being alive, fighting for a proper life, for a life that is worth living, it's an inevitable quest for me. I'm trying to relate to other people, or trying to get what I want from other people. These have been my best efforts. Um, so I don't know what's going to happen, except that my son's going to work tomorrow somewhere. He went to work um, whenever, a week ago or so, and he brought back some shoes and a bag, and so, like, I want to go to work myself and get myself things to give, plus get gifts for him. So this lady on the phone earlier, that she said, "Well, I won't be yelled at," and I said, "Well, you're getting paid to be there to get yelled at if necessary, right? So whatever, she can just brush that off, and I'll continue my self narrative on the internet on my own channel, because I'm not an actress. I'm just simply trying to live life to the best of my ability." Um, so I tried to kill myself when I was a 14-year-old, 15, 16. I had become suicidal as a way of coping, and I I've not taken any substance that alters my mind to that extent in 27 years, because I appreciate living. So the medics here help with when somebody gave me amphetamine, or I purchased amphetamine. They've all their efforts have been to keep me from getting more, from learning how to get more, or how to get more. Um, so Uh, so I don't know what's going to happen. Whatever higher powers claim influence in my life, that I can't negate. ex- They're this is how I'm living. Where also my son's going to work tomorrow. I gotta find somewhere to be from 5 a.m. until 12 p.m. Um, because I guess around 12 my mother's husband leaves, so I'll return here to my room. I'm in my room. Like, I painted this room. I already said that before. Um, it's like my attendance is sought after, is wanted as a male entertainment in some manner that I could not negotiate. For the life of me, I cannot negotiate. Since I was 16, we all thought, oh well, let's just let her dance to death on the LSD. And so it was like, yeah, I was just dancing to death all night. There wasn't any employment nor any like hint of any work to do with intimacy. It was all love and like aerobics. So I was just dancing to death. Really, like the other songs all saying about glitter and dancing to death, because that's, I guess, what we thought to do with me, rather than start employing me on a cocaine dispensary or amphetamine dispensary or just straightforward prostitution forced into. No, we were just lovingly towards me, like, all right, just dance to death, I guess. And so upon not dying, I had brain hemorrhaging, and then I went all sober, like cold turkey, they say, like, you biggest drug brain in our class probably at the time, to just go straight for the most potent substance, and like to the death, on that one night, 3 nights, like afterwards, like not even like care about some other drug. Like, I only smoke marijuana. I only liked the feel of marijuana, and the description for everything else I was hesitant about. And then like I acquired this way of thinking after not dying, after hemorrhaging, after language was dissolved, everything was dissolved, and I was like, oh, I got my right to think again, like logically, to what extent I find logic in the realm of words. And I did not want to compromise that at all ever again, no matter what. I thought, when I die, I want to die with this knowledge about what is, what I am, who are they, who are we, what is the planet, what's the universe. I did not want to die with like without being aware that I'm going to die, Like, I had that privilege, that control back then as a solution when I was 15 or 16, so I know that I still have that right. If necessary, we're going to give me another rave party. If necessary, I'm going to die that way, not some. I don't know who tries to imagine ugly deaths. My son was scaring me because, like, I've never looked at. I try not to look at violent stuff. I'm very anti-violence because probably because I've been the biggest victim of violence as a species, as a kind of man. So it must be like in my DNA to recoil away from physical harm as much as I possibly could. Um, so I don't know how I'm going to greet the demand around here. For I don't know what exactly. Um, yeah, it's a constant copulating pressure, and we got some options as to where to go tomorrow. Oh no, tomorrow's Friday, so Not Pasadena.